Hi, and welcome to another edition of King Crush Thursdays, the series where we highlight and uplift Black men because, frankly, not too many people are doing it. My name is Val Gay, and I am super excited to bring to you yet another amazing king. This brother is a dad. He's a leader. He's an engineer. He's a lecturer. He goes to Oxford to lecture. He's amazing. And he's a friend of mine. And I'm so happy to introduce to you Mr. Ken Scott. Hi, Ken.
Good. Hi. How are you? Good to see you.
I'm good. Good to see you too. How are you doing?
Okay. Good. Enjoying this nice weather. Trying to get a little yard work in.
Yes. Awesome. Well, Ken, I'm so glad that you said yes to this interview because, as I've explained to you, we are building a repository of 6 questions, and we're on our way to 100 answers by 100 different Black men. With the goal of having this repository, let's say one day a young king who may or may not have positive Black male role models in his life can come to this repository, see these same questions and see the myriad of answers and perhaps find guidance in those answers. And then for the rest of us who are neither male or even Black, that we can take a look and peek into the thoughts of this group of people who collectively, I believe, are undervalued, undermined, underappreciated, underseen. And when we are seen, or when you are seen, I should say, it's a very myopic view on a very small microcosm of the entirety of the whole. And so I want to have these conversations to broaden the conversation and, again, to shed a light and to highlight men like you. So with that, 1, thank you. And 2, we get right into it with the first question, which is, what does manhood mean to you?
Manhood. Well, first, I guess the state of being a man, not being a boy, right? That would be the classic definition. So we'll start with that. But I think it means accountability. When sort of like you're progressing through life and it comes to the point where you're more independent and then you become independent, or you become a leader. You're now a caregiver. So all of these things are kind of a progression to being a man. And then growing up, I think of manhood. I think about people like had very good role models as my father, my grandfather, uncles. They often, they were very independent. They held jobs, but they also were small business people. They could make anything. So it kind of just gave you the ideal that, anything is possible, because they would make their own furniture. They could build their own homes. They could repair anything. I could repair it. I was repairing stuff when I was like 10 years old. I was out like repairing televisions, and my mom would send me to her friends. I'll say, oh, so Miss so-and-so's oven's not working, and she'd send me over the work on it, and so those kind of things. And I think of that as the between the classic definition and just kind of the accountability that you grow into as a mature adult, and especially as a male and as a Black male. This came up not too long ago about loving the way people raising children these days, and my own children, and I would say I love you, and things like that. And I thought about this because as this came up, I said, did my father ever once tell me that he loved me? And it dawned on me that no, I can never recall my father ever saying those actual words to me. But then I have to laugh because I know if he was here standing next to me, besides he might give me like a smack in the head, but he'd be like, what are you, crazy? Like, did you not live in a warm house? Did you not have a meal every day? Was I not home every day? Were you not well educated? Like, do I have to tell you that? And that's, the old school classic of manhood of, no, I take care of my family. I'm delivering my love to you. I express my love to you in my actions, which is much more important because, again, another lesson from my father is one of these good, him and my grandfather, for these kind of little lessons and sayings. But, we'll always say, don't worry about what people say. Just, watch what they do. And that'll tell you all that you need to know. And that's been true my whole life.
Yes. I get that. That's awesome. Excellent. Thank you. So, Ken, who and or what is important to you?
Most important to me would be my family. My family is most important to me by far. I've been blessed, been given I've given many speeches and talks, and I've received many awards over the years. And, I always say, this is great. I thank you. But, my greatest accomplishment by far is my children. And I have to start with them. And, thank God they're good people. They're healthy. And family is really important. It became really important because, unfortunately, my wife was battling cancer for years, and she was sick on and off, and then she passed away. And then I, wound up raising, 4 children. And yeah, it was disappointing and heartbreaking, but she also was a medical personnel. She was director of nursing, and she would remind me all the time, if I'm not here, your life is going to go on. And then we developed a plan that life would go on, and to make sure that they were okay. And fortunately, they are also well educated and gainfully employed, thank God, and and all is well, and very good people that you can say, hey, I really respect them, and they would be my friends if I was their age. So I'm very appreciative of that. So that by far, and then of course you have your family, as they say, the family, friends are the family that you choose. So the friends of the community at large are important to me, and with the work that I do. So I'm very interested in community and people, and being helpful. So yeah, definitely I would say family, blood family, and the collective family of community.
That's awesome. Excellent. Thank you so much. So Ken, how do you want all of us to see you?
Oh, that's an interesting question. Well, obviously, as a Black man, as I just mentioned, a good father, I guess well educated, and a man that walks in faith. I try to walk the walk. Not overly religious, but I'm a spiritual person. I do pray every day, believe in God, and try to keep life in balance and life in perspective. Again, through my travels, because I do travel and lecture all around the world, just knowing the issues of the world. But this goes back to my mother, who was a librarian, so we were always well read. And again, get to complaining about stuff. And she gave me something one day, and I kept it. And even when she passed away, I found a copy of it in her wallet, and I always keep it in my refrigerator. And it's just a reminder about being thankful that there's 7 billion people on the planet. Here in, we live in North America, and for this part of the world, and even though if I included South America for the most part, there's 7 billion people in the world. But for sure, we, as in this country, as bad as things are, and poverty and everything else, we are guaranteed to be in the top 8% of the wealthiest people walking the planet. So the saying that she had, that was my refrigerator, said, if you woke up this morning with more health than illness, and you're more blessed than 1 million people who will not survive this week, how much more true can that be after this past year of what's going on? If you never experienced the danger of battle, the loneliness of imprisonment, or the agony of torture, or the pangs of starvation, you're better off than 500 million people are experiencing that right this second. Did you know that half the world doesn't even own a pair of shoes? And, with education, which we take for granted here, free public school education, education is not free. There is no education in over half of the world. And if you get an education, you have to pay for it. There's no free education. So those are the things I care deeply about, as a person, when people see me, just to know that, I am a person of faith. Like I said, not overly religious, but of faith, and my own, I'm very comfortable in my own scale of who I am, and just like to be, generous, helpful, try to be considerate person, and an overall good human being. How about that?
That's great. I like that. How about that? Yes. That's awesome. What a great reminder that your mother passed down to you, that you just shared with us. So thank you so much for that. So Ken, what is your epic dream?
So my epic dream, I guess, besides the obvious of peace, joy, happiness, for the world, I always think, and, can we leapfrog Black community, Black society around the world? Can we leapfrog us to the top of society, instead of always, for the majority of us being in the bottom half? And, can we do that? So I use examples. I think about companies from a business perspective. You have Microsoft and Google, Amazon. But none of these companies didn't exist, 30 years ago, 50 years ago, right? It was Sears, it was General Electric, US Steel, all of these companies. okay, so they disappeared, and here are these new people swept to the very top. So it is possible, and of course they use technology as the driver behind a lot of this. And so how can we use that to our benefit? Say, oh, by the way, there is an opportunity to leapfrog. And even right now, as some people are calling this the third Reconstruction, there's always this period in history of the United States where we're progressing. If you look at after the Civil War, there's great books on it, and PBS with Skip Gates, Lewis Gates, he had a special Reconstruction, really spells it out when you really look at, hey, by the way, here, we had people in government, we had congressmen and senators, and we were making progress. And here, here's the setback from the government again, from, let's take that away from them and let's block black people. Here we go. Let's go into the 60s. Let's, here we can make progress. Or even further than that, even we go to World War I, World War II. Here we are serving, hey, we come back. Here's an opportunity to say, they immigrate to armed services. We can be doing much better. But no, here's our friends in the government again say, oh no, we're going to do the GI Bill, but not for you black people. 60s and 70s arrive, same situation, right? Oh, we have affirmative action. We're making great gains in education, employment, all these other positions. Nope, here comes the Reagan Republicans. Nope, getting too much, got to go back. Same thing. Every time there's a step forward, then somebody wants to cut it off, right? Because it's always a case of we don't want you to be equal to us. So that's my epic dream, is to leapfrog beyond all of that and create real systemic change, real system change, which is really what happens. I mean, the theory behind this is the scientist in me of creating real change, if is really just creating a new system that makes the old system obsolete. That's how you create real change.
That's awesome. Yeah. Awesome. It's a little depressing to hear the history, and yet we still persevere, right? And yet still move forward.
We're people of perseverance, that's for sure.
Right. Yeah.
That's how we got here. We're people.
Yes. And it's important, and particularly for our young people, to know that this is not the first time, and that we will continue to persevere and continue to move, and that we have, with each reconstruction, we gain just a little bit more power, a little bit more collective authority, if you will.
And this time, one of the big differences, of course, is just that our numbers. If you look at people, not only black people, but people of color in the United States, again, so if you look at our population, it's a lot different than, pre-Civil War or even post-Civil War. So those are issues. Not that, as we know, not that a minority surely can control a majority. We know that lesson for sure. But there's just different times, and like I said, I think through the use of technology and wisdom, I think there's some great opportunities to kind of really leapfrog, not even bridge it, but leapfrog beyond where we would be in this long time systematic growth, to say, oh no, just like overnight. Hate to use this thing because we all know about the virus, but think of how fast a virus takes hold. The same thing. Can you use that on the positive side?
Exactly.
Change.
Yes. Amen to all of that. Amen to all of that. That's awesome. So I didn't use your correct title earlier, and I realized that. I forget, and I apologize. Please forgive me, Dr. Ken Scott. Number 5, our question is, who are you, Dr. Ken?
Who am I? Okay. I thought, so like I said, I'm a Black man from Philadelphia, grew up in West Philadelphia, and parents, originally a lot of my family's from Montgomery County and Bluebell, back even when it was farming. I was fortunate enough to know my great grandparents, and back when they, had small farming and went trucking and cement business, things like that. But I've always been somebody who's interested in science and engineering, and my educational background's always been in engineering, technology, and then business. I got some advanced business degrees and things like that. So a career in engineering. A lot of people don't know that I had no career in engineering. I was the section chief in the nuclear division for a good while. So people always ask, well, how'd you go from being in nuclear engineering to like being over here as the president of the Beech Companies, which is, social enterprise, philanthropy. We were doing social enterprise where they coined the term social enterprise, because we figured out as part of the William Penn Foundation, really was the Haas family from Rome, Haas Chemicals. And, obviously they used that business, and then their family started a foundation, William Penn Foundation. So, they had a business that was making a profit, wanted to do some good, develop the foundation. Here we were in the foundation side, said, well, how are we going to keep this going? You can't always keep relying on government funding or going out to all these other foundations. So this was with Floyd Alston, who was the first president at Beech. Dr. Watson was the president of the William Penn Foundation, came up with this ideal of kind of a model of here in North Central Philadelphia was the highest in crime and poverty. What can we do to actually address this and use it to make some serious changes? So even he will tell you, said, he didn't think that 30 years later, and I hadn't been there that long, but the 30 years later that, we would have leveraged $2 billion in redevelopment efforts and, thousands of new jobs and scholarships and philanthropy. And we have 8 organizations, business banking and community redevelopment, all the properties that we own that get, recycled into development, our own foundation that gives out grants and scholarships twice a year. So it's really come full circle. But yeah, it just goes to show you what you can do, as I remind people. So this gets back, unfortunately, I've traveled around the world and I've got to see a lot of the behind the scenes of corporations. One of my favorite sayings is from the Disney company. So if you go to Disney World in Florida, as you're walking through the parking lot going up, you don't even realize that you're going uphill, that basically underneath of the surface is their operations. There's a couple of levels there, but they didn't actually dig the ground up because of the soil was it really was swampland that they really built on. So they built it all up. But you really are like on the second or third floor level when you're walking along the streets. But beneath there with all the operation centers, it's always kind of like hidden openings and things like that to go into. Big sign that says, from Walt Disney, the first rule of dreaming is there are no rules. Dream away, right? Dream away, right? Doesn't cost. I remind people outside. Doesn't cost anything on paper. It's a dream, but that's how you get things started. That's how you progress. Of course, you have to follow through on that to bring it to reality. Your next step is developing a plan. But by the way, what is a plan? A plan is only a dream with a timeline. That's what a plan is. Okay, so that's your second step, and then move to the next step. So as you can see, very much my engineering brain is always, at work on these systems. But very proud at Beech that, what we've been able to accomplish, and, thousands of new affordable housing units. And I talk to people, they often tell them what we do. They often say, oh, are you in the ministry? That's like, no, we're not in the ministry, we're a nonprofit, but, very relatable work of community redevelopment. And obviously I didn't think I was going to come here. I actually, again, my background was in engineering science and utilities. I happen to know Floyd also from the school district. I was trying to get kids interested, Black kids interested in engineering and science. And they had an early up program. I came as a volunteer to help them. So I was very blessed. I didn't need a job. I just came as a volunteer to help them for a few years until I was just going to move on to something else, and wound up staying and knew the community well, and wound up becoming the president of the organization.
That is really amazing. I didn't know all of that history. That is so amazing. You have said some just, stellar names that are legend in our community. I'm so grateful that I got to meet and chat with a few times, Mr. Floyd Alston. Yes. And Dr. Bernard Watson. Yes. Bernie Watson is one of my mentors, and I'm so grateful. I get to say to Bernie Watson, Dr. Bernard Watson, C. Watson is one of my mentors. It's amazing. And he is a formidable person who embodies everything that you said, right? Like that you have it's about excellence, is really about planning. It's about having a doggedness, perseverance towards one's goal. I've learned so much, and certainly I've learned a lot from you, and even in this story, which is amazing. And if anyone is not from Philadelphia, or even if you are from Philadelphia, if you ever go up around Temple University, that whole area there, that footprint, Beech International, that footprint we're all over that footprint. And I'm so grateful, Ken, in that work in that community. It's just really wonderful to see, and to see our community not left behind. Right.
Absolutely. Always remind them of that, just as you spoke about Temple, and we're always a reminder, one of the former presidents were talking about community redevelopment, and they kept saying, oh, well, the Temple community, and someone stops it. Wait a minute, we just want to make this clear. Temple is located in North Philadelphia. North Philadelphia is not located inside of the Temple. Okay.
That's exactly right.
Yes. And it says, yes, we're here to work collaboratively together, but it's 250,000 people that look like us in this community.
Right.
And we're not going to be on the back row. Okay.
No.
We will drive the car. All right.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's really beautiful to see. It's beautiful when you go there, the vibrancy that is in the community across the board, all the small businesses, the opportunities that entrepreneurs have to come into your offices and learn is just really phenomenal. Okay, but I'm getting off track here. Hold on.
Okay.
I need to talk about
yes.
I'm so grateful.
That's okay. And hopefully you'll get to talk to Dr. Watson. I talked to him a couple of weeks ago. He's great.
Yeah. Yes. I was, as you were talking, I was like, oh, I got to call Dr. Watson. I'm hoping that I could get him, because I think if Dr. Watson would be if he would do one of these interviews, like he yawns gold when he speaks. His wisdom is so amazing. So I'm just hoping that we can have him be a part of this. I'm going to call him soon.
Absolutely. One of my mentor for sure.
Mm-hmm. He's amazing. I'm so grateful. So grateful. So here we are, though, already at question 6, which is there anything that I should have asked you that I didn't, or you wanted me to ask you that I didn't? In other words, what did I miss, Ken?
What did you miss? I don't, the only thing I was thinking the earlier conversation we were talking about is graduations were coming up, and we're just talking about the future. And I was very proud, by the way, last year, I had 5 Black men get their engineering degrees. Very tough. I mean, it's still such a low percentage of Black people in technology and Black males in engineering, and of course, Black females, and that's rising. Thank God that we always do a lot of work in that area, because it's close to me. And we're just talking about the future, and of course, they've got their come up with their engineering degrees, and this is good to be on this side of the table where people are now coming to you with multiple offers. You don't have to go hunt down a job. And so we give out our scholarships, and we always remind everyone the networking, you must pay it forward, is that, this is, instead of you hunting down a job, that you can, they have 6 or 7 job offers, and you can pick and choose, the advantage of being in a career like that. But we're talking about the future, and we're talking about some of the people that were having their struggles. And it reminds me, I gave a commencement speech one time, and we always talk about the future. And, so what's going to happen in the future? People are like, oh, if I only knew the future. And I said to them, and I say it all the time, we can often tell the future. We just don't want to acknowledge it, because we're afraid of change and some of these things. But oftentimes, so I said to them in the audience, which is true, and I want you to think about it, and anybody who watches this, you're sitting there, graduation, I said, so I want you to think back when you were here as a freshman, and by November, you had a few months of working with everybody. You knew who wasn't coming to class. You knew who was out partying. You knew who was doing the work today. You knew who wasn't going to be sitting here today, right? So look around and look at who's here. And I guarantee you, if I went and asked you in November of your freshman year, you could have gave me 90% of the answer of who was going to be sitting here graduating with you today and who wasn't. That's like as one soft example. But that happens all the time in life. It's like, oh, if I had only known. But yeah, you do know. You know what's going on. I sat for a couple of years. I was on the White House Advisory Board for Technology and Education, and we're talking about the last 2 years of the Obama administration with Artie Duncan as the Secretary of Education, and we're just talking about we're reviewing what's happening. So now everyone's talking about Zoom and online education. Well, that train left the station. I was telling people years ago. By the way, I don't know what's going to happen. You're in school. I can get the same education, which I've said for years. It's 2 calculus books. Sometimes I give a lecture. And this calculus, $5,000. This calculus, $65,000. This is the calculus at community college. This is the calculus at Harvard. It's identical. It has to do. It's taught in sequence. There's alumni at Penn, Columbia, Oxford. They're all great places. Somebody else wants to pay for it. They're great schools, but there's no history that they teach at the University of Pennsylvania that they don't teach at Temple University. Right? They don't say, oh, by the way, now there's anatomy and physiology. There's certain bones that only people at Columbia University know about, or Oxford. Okay. So when you look at the world of technology, and it's all about, delivery, it's about logistics. And this is what it's about. Systems change, and the delivery of education is changing. And, a lot of the schools, because of demographics, the population of younger people is going down. People have children like they used to. So yeah, there's big changes coming down the road from us. When I look at that and making career decisions, those are things you have to consider in the journalism and things like that. I told students years ago. So here's a quick story. somebody years ago, they were on the newspaper, and this person purchased the Philadelphia Inquirer, and he paid $500 million for it. And so I'm doing this analysis with some of my reporter friends and people in journals said, where do you plan on working at in the future? They laughed and go, oh, Ken, what are you talking about? You're always bringing these things. I said, well, I'm just, I'm a researcher. I'm doing this. I'm looking at the numbers. I'm looking at the technology, and I do some analysis work for tech. So I go out to San Francisco, a lot of Silicon Valley places. And I said, but yeah, I'm looking at it, and there's, for every dollar in print ad, it's only 10 cents online. That's a 90% revenue drop. So again, I can see the future. You should be able to see the future, but why aren't you? So sure enough, the story goes, the paper then, as you know, the newspaper business collapsed all over the place. They have to then sell the newspaper. And so that $500 million, they resold the paper. What did they resell it for? Oh, it resold down for about, $100 million or less or whatever. But basically, it was a 90% devaluation of when they had to sell it. So didn't have to be a top, computer scientist, financial analysis, to kind of figure that out and see where it was going. It's like, okay, Inquirer, why didn't you jump in a deal with Comcast and put the newspaper online a long time ago? That would have been a smart business play. But these are the kinds of things when I talk about like seeing the future. So when you're looking at your career options and, some of the other things, we can talk that even through personal relationships. Like, so you didn't know, you didn't see that, all the signs and signals. So yeah, that's one of the things I was just recently talking about that I just thought was interesting. It keeps coming up again where people keep saying, yeah, if I had only known, if only.
Right. Well, I love what you just said, right? Because what I hear across the board is that we have to pay attention and use all the things that are available to us to be able to pay attention. Yes. Right. So it's the going all the way back to Walt Disney about, what's the first rule of dreaming? There are no rules, right? Dream on. But taking in everything that is available to you. So looking at technology, looking at the trend, looking at how that person actually does act. and
yes.
They're people, right? This is very rarely a surprise. I think my aunt said something like, when someone shows you who they are, believe them first.
Don't they say that all the time? Believe them. I told you who I was. Why are you complaining? Why are you complaining?
Exactly. Believe them. So, DMX even said something like that, like, don't be surprised, right? Like someone showed you who they are. Right. Trust them. Trust that they're going to be who they are. Yes. And if you keep your eyes open, then you can kind of see the future, if you will. So that's beautiful advice. And I'm so glad that you brought all of this up. And I'm so glad that you, again, had said yes to this conversation. I've gotten so much out of this conversation, as I always do. Whenever I have a conversation with you, I always walk away just a little bit smarter, a little bit wiser. So I'm so grateful, Dr. Ken Scott, that you here, sir.
Yes, always my pleasure to see and talk to you. It's always, that.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm so grateful. And I just wanted to let you know that I honor you, my king, and I pray that God will continue to grow and deepen your influence, and that everything that you touch will continue to flourish, from your family to your community, to the businesses, to your students, and everyone in between. And I just really thank you so much for coming and being here with us today. And I thank you for joining us. I hope that you were as enlightened and informed as I was in this conversation. And I ask that if there is a Black man in your life who you would like to see highlighted in this forum, please feel free to click the link in my bio below, and or the link below or in my bio, and we'll take it from there. Like I said in the beginning, we're heading towards 100 Black men, and I'm super excited. One thing I didn't say, we say we're looking for 100 successful Black men, but success is not defined by what someone does for a living. It truly is, like Dr. King said, about the content of their character and the impact that they are having on their community, whether it's the nuclear family, which is amazing, to the entire community and everything in between. So please feel free to think of someone that you want to highlight and celebrate in this way, and who we need to hear from. And in the meantime, please remember to spread love and have a great day. Thanks so much. And thank you, Ken. That was awesome.
That's good. Oh, that was great. That was great. Enjoyed the conversation.